This video's had to go through several drafts. It was originally 7 hours of monologuing about this game, but I decided that we should probably, tone it down a little bit since people have jobs and lives and families, at least most people. There's a lot that Fallout 3 did wrong. There's a lot that I think it did right. And we're going to try and condense this the best we can and take a look at some of the failures of this game because it's not at all perfect. Negative Nate is back. We always appreciate you being here.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Talk about my favorite game ever, Fallout 3.
Take it down a peg. It's not at all your favorite game ever.
No, it's not.
So anyway, if you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you very much to everybody helping support this channel. Let's hop right into it. Number 5. I think one of the biggest faults with this game has been fixed over time. Many people might not even know that it was a fault because of the DLCs, patches, and all of those things, but at launch, this game completely ignored logical choices you could make just to shoehorn the narrative that they wanted to tell at Bethesda. And it's kind of silly, especially with the ending.
Yeah, the DLC fixed basically the Project Purity, story portion of it at the very end, where essentially the original version was either you or Sarah Lyons gets irradiated.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay, so then a lot of players basically played that and they were like, well, why not just send in this literal super mutant who is immune to radiation?
Because Fox is with you. He has made a plot point because he actually goes in to get the Gek for you. When you find him in the vault, Fox will go in and he'll be like, no, you can't go in there. It's way too irradiated. I'll go get the Gek.
Yeah, so people are like, well, why not just do the same thing, but at the ending of the game?
And he basically says, no, this is your destiny to die here. I'm not going to deny you your destiny, which was pretty much really... Bethesda thought of it. That's what's weird to me.
Yeah.
Is Bethesda did think of it. Because otherwise there wouldn't even be that option, right? To say, well, Fox, why don't you go in there? And he's like, no, this is your turn to die.
Right.
So they clearly thought of this logical choice to send in Fox. But they were like, that makes too much sense.
Right.
Put code into the game and record voice lines acknowledging that plot hole, but don't do anything with it.
Right.
And then later on with Broken Steel, they actually made it so you could play after the, main game more. They made it so that you could add on to the game if you were playing a good karma playthrough. But otherwise, you pretty much just had to pick an evil choice and sacrifice Sarah Lyons.
Right. Or you could sacrifice yourself too, but then you're dead.
Right, and then you can't play the game anymore.
Right.
So any, side mission or side quests, I should say, or any collectibles or anything you wanted to do, anything at all that you wanted to do that you hadn't done before that portion of the story, if you were a good karma player, you just missed out on it.
Right.
Until Broken Steel.
Yeah, this was kind of just dumb.
This is like a huge oversight.
Well, and the thing is, I don't even know if it's an oversight because they didn't miss it. It's just a dumb thing.
That's what's weird is they acknowledged it. I don't understand how they acknowledged this.
They knew that this was a plot hole because they wrote that dialogue, and then they just didn't allow you to do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
No.
Number 4. It's the 4th one.
4.
So the next one we have is probably the cardinal sin for our resident historian here, Nate. Often found, meandering through the National Archives and in areas he shouldn't be in our country. But the map is completely inaccurate in Fallout 3. And I will let you clarify on this, but I do want to say that for me, this isn't something that I really notice because I haven't been there, unlike you. But I do think that when they're going out of their way to, I guess I'd say, recreate areas and try and do so faithfully in some instances, I have no problem with making stuff up. Tranquility Lane, areas like that. Obviously, the Brotherhood of Steel is not a thing in real life. Make up whatever you want. But what's weird to me about this that you pointed out is when they go to actual locations and then they are just nothing at all like they actually were in the real world.
Yeah, this is my biggest problem with this game, and it's something I noticed pretty much immediately, is all of the real world locations for this game were completely inaccurate to what they looked like in real life. The main one was Arlington National Cemetery. This place pissed me off because my question is, you literally can look up pictures of what this looks like online and then just put that in the game. So why doesn't it look like anything like it looks like online? It just looks like a cemetery in this game. There's no main locations like John F. Kennedy's big shrine that he's buried at. Like, it's a huge thing. It's not there. And even the Robert E. Lee house, or the Arlington house as they call it, is just nothing like what it looks like in real life. It doesn't even look like it. It just looks like a generic house. And I'm like, really? Like, you put the effort to put the Arlington house in the game, and yet it just looks nothing like it does in real life?
What I'm kind of confused about with this, too, is that they very clearly had the ability to go and scope this out. I'm not going to pretend Assassin's Creed is the most historically accurate all the time, but they usually get buildings right.
Yeah.
Or at least generally correct.
Right.
And it's very odd to me to look at a game like this where they very clearly tried to recreate these areas, but they don't really have anything to do with the actual area. And, you know, usually when this kind of thing happens in a game, it's because of copyright.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it'll be, obviously, you wouldn't use Coca-Cola, so you make up Nuka-Cola.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
that makes sense. But you don't really have that with historical landmarks.
Well, yeah, and I think, and the explanation I could see someone saying is, well, this game takes place like 200 years in the future. Okay, really? So the Arlington house is still existing 200 years or whatever it is in the future, but yet somehow they tore down the house, built a new one, and this house looks like nothing like it did originally?
Well, yeah, I guess you could say it's an alternate timeline, which is fine, but then it makes you wonder what the point is of using the real location at all.
Right. And I have the same complaint for a lot of different areas too, like the Smithsonian Museum, for example. Nothing like it looks like in real life. Like, I'm talking the inside of it. I'm talking you walk into the inside, and the way just everything looks is completely different.
Well, you actually went to the Smithsonian a couple of years ago, didn't you?
It's been a little longer than that. It was maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, yeah. But I don't know. And I have the same complaint for pretty much everything in the game. With the exception of a few locations, like the Washington Monument, although there's not really a lot to do with that.
No.
I thought that was kind of cool. There was a lot of areas in this game that I thought were very interesting, but most of it, I just had a problem with it. Like, I'm walking around like the Capitol, I'm kind of like, well, the inside of this looks exactly like the Smithsonian. This is really lazy. I did think the National Archives was cool. I will say that. I did like the National Archives. My other problem with the map, though, is they're also missing a lot of stuff, too, in real life. It really, to me, felt like the developers were taking a generic map of Washington, D.C., and were just like, what are the 10 most famous things in this city? Okay, we'll just throw them in there.
It doesn't make sense why they wrote out certain areas, and then other areas they did include had nothing to do with the actual area in real life.
Right. Yeah, it really doesn't make sense. You could have added a DLC based on actual locations surrounding DC.
Mm-hmm.
Like, here's an example. Just right down the Potomac River, you have Mount Vernon. Mm-hmm. George Washington's house. It's literally like the game takes place right on the Potomac River. That's based on the main story of the game.
Well, and they even did that with Pittsburgh, with the pit.
Yeah.
It's not really that much like Pittsburgh, but at least it is Pittsburgh.
At least it's in there.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, I guess I don't really understand why you make a game based on probably the most popular location in the United States.
For at least tourism.
In terms of, you know, things in there to see. But yet, all the things you have in the game look nothing like they do in real life. And also, you left out so much stuff. As you can tell, this is my, as you described it, cardinal sin with the game.
Well,
it's so disappointing.
The map itself is just kind of a missed opportunity.
A missed opportunity. That's a really good word for
because
it.
There's a lot of really cool things in the map, but something I noticed is most of the really cool locations in the map are made up.
Yes.
Most of them are just completely fictional.
Yes.
And I think that that's really a shame when you're using a real location that has a lot of iconography to it in real life.
Number three.
Level cap. I have this problem with pretty much a lot of these more modern RPG games, especially because by the time you are at the level cap, there's still stuff to do. And the level cap was horrible in the original game. I believe it was level 20. And then it got expanded on as you actually got DLCs. So the DLCs raised the level cap. Same issue with Fallout New Vegas. The DLCs raised the level cap, but at least the level cap in New Vegas is 50. Mm-hmm. The other problem I have with the level cap is that it's completely broken in this game. So if your goal was to balance the game, it's not balanced at all because you can pick a perk at every single level in Fallout 3. Every level you get a perk. So in Fallout New Vegas, the way they balanced it was you only get a perk every other level.
Right.
So they were able to kind of balance that while still giving you skills. In Fallout 3, it kind of felt like they didn't understand their own leveling system, to the point where you can kind of just become a god by the end.
I'm fine with a level cap, just not that low of a level cap.
At level 30.
Yeah, like if you're going to make a level cap, have it be like 75. Or
I'm
like
even
100.
I'm even fine with 50 in New Vegas. It's a lot better than this.
Yeah, 50 is fine, but I feel like it should have been a little more too. Because if you're max level, especially in Fallout 3 where it's especially egregious, if you're max level and you're not even done with the game, that's a problem.
Yeah. Because
Like-
now there's no point to actually interact with some things other than getting achievements and just the fun of playing the game.
Right.
You're not really getting anything out of it at a certain point. And also, let's say that you are at level 30 and you find a new gun you want to use, and maybe this is the first energy weapon you found that you really like. Okay, well, your character's maxed. You can't revert those stats on console. You'd have to use console commands on PC to do it. So now you've found a weapon, right? And there's no way to build your character to use it.
Right.
Your character's just stuck wherever you put them.
Yeah.
I kind of find
That's
that
a problem.
a little annoying and short-sighted. And again, I understand it from PS1 era of RPGs or PS2 era, the original Xbox. When we start getting into the Xbox 360, I feel like you should be, in PS3 era, I feel like you should be actually taking those criticisms seriously of players maxing their characters and not really having anything more to do. But it didn't feel like they did. It's especially egregious that they needed to raise the level cap with the DLCs, and it still isn't raised much.
Why did they think that 20, I should say, because that's when they were developing it. Why did they think 20 was a good level cap?
I don't
Were
know.
they playing the game and just only exclusively doing the story? You have to think about that players are going to be wanting to experience all these quests and everything like that and exploration.
Well, they definitely thought
And-
about that because they shoved it all into the game.
Yeah, so it's like, why do you think 20 is a good idea? It's low.
It's
This
really
is
low.
really low.
Number 2, the numero dos.
The next one we have is the egregious amount of glitches in this game. Now, Fallout New Vegas certainly would get this criticism too, but Fallout 3, on one hand, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, well, do they get a little bit of a pass? It was Bethesda's first Fallout game, but on the other hand, it's not exclusive to Fallout 3. This is a problem with every Bethesda RPG that they make, every Bethesda game in general. And some of them are funny. Some of them are quirky, like, oh, that's a silly glitch. But a lot of them are just annoying. It'll be, this quest broke. Now you can't complete it. Or, this character never spawned. Sorry. Those are not fun glitches. Those are, oh, you just pissed me off and wasted hours of my time glitches.
Yeah, I mean, when I was playing through the game, because I played it first a couple of years ago, and I played on my Xbox Series X using the Xbox One edition of Fallout 3. And I finished the initial part of the game where you're in the vault and you come out onto the Capital Wasteland from the vault. But I experienced a bug in the game, so I would make a save file at that point, and I would walk towards the nearest town, and I'd probably play 2 minutes, and the game would either freeze or my guy would fall through the map. No matter what I was doing. It's like the game couldn't handle me walking 2 minutes outside of the vault. So it was getting to the point where I'm like, am I even able to play this game? Because I beat the vault part of it, and then now it freezes, and either it freezes or I fall through the map. And I looked it up online, and basically people were saying, well, just try restarting. So
The whole
I did.
game?
Yeah, so I did. And then it finally worked.
So you had to create a new character.
I had to create a brand new character and restart the game and go through the whole introduction again when I was playing through the game. Because it's like my game broke. I couldn't actually play more than 2 minutes outside the vault. That's stupid.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that, to be honest with you, that would piss them off so much that they'd be like, whatever.
Well, and if you look up Fallout 3 quests, at the bottom of every page on the wiki is a list of possible bugs and glitches.
Right, yeah.
Pretty much every quest or every character. It'll say something like, this character sometimes doesn't spawn and you have to reload your entire game. Or, oh, sometimes this character randomly dies and then this quest is incompletable. Things like that should not be happening. I understand the games are huge, but I don't really think there's much of an excuse for this. I especially think even if you give them a pass back then, first off, they had been making Elder Scrolls games for a very long time before this. So they had understood how to make big RPGs. But secondly, even if you give them a pass for this on Fallout 3 and you ignore that history and you say, well, it's their first Fallout game, why is it still happening? Yeah, I mean, maybe the bugs aren't quite as egregious now, but there's still a lot of them. You play Fallout 4, you play 76. 76 is getting a lot of patches all the time because it has to keep people happy to keep them going back to the Atom Shop. But my point is, there's still this problem of glitches, especially I noticed it in Skyrim. Even now, the newest versions of Skyrim, especially with the anniversary content, there's a lot of glitches.
Yeah, it's pretty stupid how you have to make multiple saves every minute of your playthrough in order to get around this problem. You know, and I don't have the same problem with Fallout 4 or 76. Like, there are glitches in them. There are, definitely. But I feel like it's terrible in Fallout 3 and New Vegas.
Yeah.
Like, I really feel like it's just beyond terrible. Like, it's to the point where it's like, this is bad. Like, yeah, there's glitches in these other games, but this is just bad. The other ones, I feel like most of the time you can kind of just be like, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks, but whatever. This one's just like, oh, do I have to restart my game?
Yeah, the entire character.
Right.
Well, and it hit the point where you need to use console commands on PC to fix some of them. So if you're on Xbox or PS3, sorry. Too bad.
You're out of luck.
And also, it hit the point where players needed to make massive updates to the game on PC with Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas to create bug fixes themselves for free. Players just doing it because they like the game. And the massive, billion-dollar company can't do it. I guess to me, that's where it kind of becomes pathetic and annoying.
Number 1!
Splat.
The last one we have to rein Nate in on here because I don't want, 45 minutes on this.
This is
one.
my second least favorite thing with the game.
The subway system. So basically, you hated the metro transit system because you spend a lot of your time in the game when you're trying to get from point A to point B. You can't actually go down the streets. You'll go down the streets to a certain point, and then there will be a building of rubble in your way. And then you have to find a local metro transit access, go down there, and then wander through the tunnels for 30 minutes before you possibly find your way to where you're actually going. Also, the quest markers don't always work right underground.
No.
Do you notice that?
No, not at all.
So they don't really lead you where you're trying to get to a lot of times. I am hesitant on this one to make that the center of the complaint just because we play games like Dark Souls. You don't need a quest marker all the time to tell you where to go. But I didn't feel like there was any organic progression in those tunnels. They all look the same.
Well, yeah, and that's my main problem with them is you have the subway system in the game, which is basically your main mode of fast traveling through certain parts of the map.
Slow traveling.
Very slow traveling. But they make the subway system the exact same. Like, it just looks the same. You can go down the subway system at any point in it, and you're like, oh, this is the same thing I've just seen. It's so confusing.
Well, it's basically just recycled assets over and over, and you spend a lot of time down there.
And I understand people, could say, well, why not just memorize the map and where they all go? Yeah, sure. But this is ridiculously confusing.
That also sounds really boring.
Yes.
I don't really want to memorize subway tunnels in Fallout 3.
No. It's just every time I go into the tunnel, I'm like, oh, great, here comes 20 minutes of me trying to figure out where to go.
Yeah.
And, you eventually get up to the other side, that it gets to the point where it's like, I'm not even excited to get to this other side anymore. I'm just annoyed because I had to try to traverse through this dumb tunnel. It's really obnoxious. It was really annoying. And to be honest with you, it really pissed me off because the map itself, like I'm talking the above world map, already kind of annoyed me with it, which I already explained. And then you added all these like rubble pieces, so it's like, oh, I want to get over to that, the White House, right, for example. I want to just see what's there. Oh, well, good luck finding what subway system takes you there, because now you have to like look up a map online or find one of those maps in the game, and it's like, then you have to try to figure out, oh, this one connects to that one, and that one, and then you have to find out where that one is. And then you have to somehow figure out the entire subway system in general to get to the other side. But there's like 2 different exits that you could take. But it's not that one, it's the next one.
I don't even have a problem with
it's
the
a
subway
problem.
tunnels existing. It's just how frequently they're used.
Yes. I'm fine with them. I think they could be a very cool concept. And honestly, they could be a lot easier to memorize if they didn't all look the same.
I think that's actually a flaw with Fallout 3 in general. There's a lot of areas that are copy-paste.
Yes.
And I think that point also goes back to parts of the map being such a missed opportunity. I understand that you're working with such a huge game, and I'm sure you have time constraints and things like that, but with how big of a company Bethesda is, and even was at the time of making this, I actually don't feel that way as much with games they had made before this game. Games like Elder Scrolls Oblivion, yeah, there's some areas that feel a little copy-pasty, but most areas feel pretty unique. And I've always wondered that with Fallout, why it ends up being that way.
Yeah.
I guess I just feel like it was a real mistake the way that they made getting around DC. It's way too fragmented.
Yes.
To the point where going in the city should be fun, but going in the city for a quest is actually really annoying.
Yeah, because you're sitting there trying to figure out how to even get to the quest.
Yep. Yeah.
And half the time it'll show it on your marker on your map, and you'll be like, oh, I'll just walk over there, and you get to the rubble, and it's like, oh, I guess I can't.
Like, it shouldn't be where I'm like, oh man, I love the countryside out here. This is fun. Ew, DC.
Right.
It's a game in DC. That should be the attraction, not off-putting.
Well, yeah, and also, why isn't the rest of the countryside split up like that?
I guess it's
How
just
come
because it's one huge city, but even the other cities aren't split up like that, really.
But the thing is, I can walk from like the northeast corner of the map all the way to the southwest corner of the map, only using the countryside, and it's fine. But I can't go more than 2 blocks in the city without running into rubble.
That you can't climb over.
That you can't climb over.
No matter how high your agility is.
Yeah.
And yeah.
If their explanation is, well, we can't load this whole area all at once. Really? So then how come you can load the entire rest of the map?
One of the many faults with this game.
Yes.
So let us know what you think in the comments down below. Please be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more videos. We do want to come back to Fallout a little more often, just kind of juggling a lot of topics and things on this channel. There also is a Patreon as well, and we do have several other channels, including Degenerate Plays, where we play through games podcast style, The King of Creepy, which is my horror channel, and also Magical Jill, which is my wife's channel that I'm on. We actually recently made a Pokemon video over there, Nate, me, and her. So lots of fun stuff to check out. Hope you all have a fantastic day, and as always, everyone, stay shway.